Hi, everyone. I am David Lipton from The Reckoning, July 4th, 2030. Welcome to our 20th in a series of weekly podcasts. In my last podcast, we discussed a new political vision dedicated to the sustainability of our republic, the FCSLFD coalition. In this podcast, we will discuss the main political choice of the 2024 election in November. Do we want to vote for a Republican or a Democrat for President of the United States? Voting is the definitive political act of choosing one candidate over the other. We all engage in both deception and self-deception at one time or another. During election time, which now extends for months at a time, double talking reaches a peak. Are the Reds or the Blues going to carry the day, and by what margin? I have a healthy regard for people's abilities to defend tenaciously their views, especially during highly charged political times. Part of their defense of their views and political positions is a tendency to use arguments ad hominem against anyone that disagrees with them. This approach is very harmful to our fellow citizens as well as to our country. I suggest that we take another approach. Let's think of politics either from a sport or an investment perspective and look at portfolio results or batting averages. Inquire into the candidate's track record. While past performance is no guarantee, it gives you a better idea of future performance than a political platform with a bucket full of promises that are mostly discarded after the election. During this podcast, I will ask my listeners to focus on what the candidates and their administrations have done, rather than what they say or what their platforms say they will do. Here are two approaches that I recommend. One, inflation and income data, and two, the track record. For your information, our financial and income data are taken from federal government sources like the Bureau of Labor and the Federal Reserve. Inflation and income data. I start with the financial data because facts concentrate the mind on what is happening rather than on what we would like to happen. They are stubborn facts that cannot and should not be waved away by political posturing. Besides, most of you already know how I approach matters. Facts, only the facts, please. Let's look at the Consumer Price Index, that's the CPI chart, from January 2017 to July 2024. In 2017, the index read 242. In 2020, it rose to 260, and by July 2024, it climbed to 310. The CPI is an excellent indicator of inflation, as it measures the actual prices that consumers must face and have faced in their daily lives. During the Trump administration, the index rose 7.4%, from 242 to 260, while during the Biden administration, it rose 19.2%, from 260 to 310. The facts show inflation rose more than 2.5 times under Biden and the Democrats, faster than under Trump and Republicans. I do not know about you, but when I walk into my favorite fast food place for a breakfast sandwich and a coffee, I am dealing with price increases anywhere between 25 to 35% over the last few years. What has been your experience? Do you feel better or worse off? There is something else. I am eating out far less. I am tired of climbing the wall of 40 to 60% price increases for lunch or dinner. Are you eating out more or less? How do you feel about that? Turning to the real median household income chart, here is the data. The income numbers are $70,840 in 2016, $73,030 in 2018, $76,660 in 2020, $74,580 in 2022, and an estimated $78,171 for 2024. Here is what I see in those numbers. Over the period 2016 to 2024, real median household income rose 10.3%. That's from $70,840 divided into $78,171. During the Trump years, household income rose 8.2%. That's $70,840 divided into $76,660. And during the Biden-Harris years, household income rose 2%. That's $76,660 divided into $78,171. In other words, under the Trump administration, real household income increased 4 times faster than under the Biden and Harris administration. And most people's disposable incomes dropped primarily due to inflation rising faster than their paychecks. Who are you going to believe? What politicians say or what your wallet or pocketbook tells you? Each candidate and their administrations provide fairly accurate pictures of how Republicans and Democrats rule. 4 years of Trump followed by 4 years of Biden-Harris are on full display. On the domestic front, we have already reviewed both their records. Under the Republicans, faster personal income growth coupled with lower inflation. Under the Democrats, the reverse is true. Slower personal income growth accompanied by higher inflation. What is your choice? Turning to international affairs and border policy. These policies and issues listed below have already been hotly debated. I assume that many of my listeners are aware of them. Rather than go into the specifics of these policies and their consequences, I propose a series of questions to leave with you. Is or was it in our nation's best interest to pursue the following policies as well as the consequences of those policies? 1. The hasty withdrawal from Afghanistan, abandoning our military equipment, and more importantly, our allies left high and dry. 2. Always reacting rather than anticipating Russian aggression in the Ukraine. 3. The continued appeasement of Iran, its nuclear program, and proxy wars in the Middle East. 4. Allowing massive illegal immigration into our country through an open-door policy. 5. Our mild response to Iranian and Houthi attacks on the Persian Gulf shipping lanes. And finally, 6. Our flailing diplomatic efforts in the Middle East in dealing with both the Arabs and the Israelis. Finally, question of all questions. Going forward, do you think that a Trump or Harris administration would be best in dealing with those challenges? The choice is in our hands. Here is a final thought for you. Be careful who or what you vote for. You just might get it good and hard. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to my channel and refer us to your friends and colleagues. You will hear from me, David Lipton, in a week's time. You can access my ideas and thoughts by visiting Amazon.com and search for my ebook, The Reckoning, July 4th, 2030.